This is JPEG Raw, show number 137, recorded on March 3rd, 2015. And tonight we have a guest, Roger Cotton, coming on the show. And we're going to talk about a topic that we've touched on before, but I don't think we've not actually gone over it in the detail that we're going to go over tonight. And that is sports photography. Roger, welcome to the show.
Hey, good evening, and glad to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Sports photography is something that really is what got me started in photography. And I'm sure there's a lot of people, a lot of amateurs like me out there, that your kids' sports is what got you into photography and is what continues me to this day. I don't do so much kid sports anymore, but it is what got me the passion of photography is my own kids' sports. So this coming from, talking about a photography business, that side of it is something I've always wanted to talk about. How, because I think at one point when I got my camera, I dreamed I was going to be this professional sports photographer and take, be a Scott Kelby and go take professional football teams and basketball teams. How hard can that be? And then, of course, I started and realized it is difficult.
It's a pipe dream.
And there's quite a bit of competition to do that too.
There definitely is, yes.
Roger, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into photography?
Well, like you, it's one of these things I started doing it kind of for my own child out there on the fields, getting a little bit of it. I've been dabbling in photography. I'd run a photo and video business for several years and then just kind of let that lapse and kind of take a break from that. And so in 2009, though, we started actually going back into business again, and we are about 90% of what we do is action sports and team and individuals and leagues. And so we got started just, hammering the fields. Most of the leagues around here, in the Memphis metro area, they don't contract out. So every coach is responsible for finding their own photographer. And so our main competition is mom with a camera who says, hey, I can take pictures for you. And everybody else who wants to do it. So, there's 30, 40 teams in a league, and there's 25 photographers walking the field every Saturday handing out their cards to the coaches. But that's where we started.
Yeah. And now what made you choose sports photography versus, let's say, weddings or landscapes or whatever? There's a lot of fields in photography you could have chosen.
I actually cut my teeth on sports photography. In high school, I started with a Pentax K1000 shooting football games for the yearbook and newspaper staff. So that's what I started doing. That's where my passion is. That's what I love doing is doing action sports photography. So that's just kind of what we started doing.
Okay. And now you mentioned the moms with a camera. And well, before we go to that, let me ask you, when you were talking about it sounds like you're taking action shots. Do you also do what do they call it, the team and individuals?
Yeah, the league photo day, the team and individual, that is a big bulk of it. And that's honestly, from a business standpoint, that's where the money is.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask you.
The action photos, I call that a necessary evil, that you may have to go take action photos knowing you're not going to sell anything, but that may be something you have to be able to do in order to get the contract to go shoot the league day.
And now in your case, with your league or with the leagues around there, you're contracting or you're working with individual coaches. But as far as the team and individuals, you're contracting with the league. Is that right?
Right. Most of what we've done now, we no longer walk the fields. We don't, the leagues that don't do contracts where every coach is responsible for his own photographer, unless it's somebody that we know and they call us, say, hey, you've done our pictures every year. We'd love you to come back and do them this year. We don't walk the fields anymore. We are strictly looking to do contracts with the larger leagues. And to do that, we've actually had to go out of Memphis. We're still in the Memphis metro area, but we've had to go out into the surrounding counties.
Okay. Yeah, so it's part of, what I did do some shooting with a local company. I was a hired gun, so they would go out and shoot tournaments, basically. And I did a couple of years of shooting the league. And I know for her, the lady who run the business, shooting the action sports was just so difficult to sell the images. Team and individuals, you kind of have a captive there, and people are coming through, and most of the parents who have kids coming through are going to buy images, but the action ones, you spend a lot of effort for a few sales. Is that generally what you're seeing there?
For the most part, yes. There are exceptions to that. We do have one of the contracts that I have is for high school football, and they do actually buy a lot of action photos as well. A lot of the little kids baseball, and so from like t-ball up through coach pitch and little league, they actually buy a lot of the action shots. But once they get into high school, these parents have been buying action photos since their kid was 5 years old. He's 15, 16 years old now. He's got his own money, so they don't buy much.
Right.
Then of course, they have the seniors. The seniors will buy. They'll generally want to buy a handful of pictures because they want to make a scrapbook for their senior.
Okay. In your area, are there a lot of the leagues big and a lot of varied sports you can shoot?
The leagues are, I don't know if they're big or small. I haven't really compared them to other areas. We did just recently. We did a Parks and Rec league for basketball, and we had about 400 players in basketball plus an additional 30 cheerleaders.
Okay.
So that's generally our league for that. For soccer, we're generally in the 300 to 350 player range in the league.
Okay. And I should mention you're in the Memphis area, so. That's your market. How far outside the market do you travel?
Well, the good thing about Memphis is that we're right on the corner. So actually we can cover, West Tennessee, Eastern Arkansas, and North Mississippi. So I can actually get into 3 states without having to drive more than an hour.
Very good. Very good. I think our league here, Atlanta Fire, which is in the north side of Atlanta, was over 4,000 kids. Just huge. Now, do you have a certain sport that you think sells better than the others? You mentioned football. Yeah.
Football definitely sells better than the others. Baseball is a great sport to shoot. As far as being able to find the action, you can predict where the action is going to be. When the play starts, this is where it's going to go. But then you've got one picture of that one player making that one play. Whereas football, you can get so many shots in a game that they'll turn around and buy that all based on the sheer volume of it.
Okay. Now, you mentioned mom of the camera, dad of the camera, and I wanted to come back to that because let me tell you my personal experience is with soccer. I have this as a parent. I have the same access to the field as you, and in this day and age, I may have nearly as good of gear as you. Because I don't have to make money for my gear. I can spend all my hobby money on it and don't have to worry about, my net negative, which if you run a business, you do have to worry about some of that. But some of the other sports, like maybe baseball or football or, I can't think of some of the others, but some of those others, I may not have the same access as the official photographer. Do you find that parent access to the field it hurts you for sales in those cases, or and in some cases helps you because they may not have the same access on the football game?
Oh, exactly. Yes. If they don't have the same access that we do, then they're going to definitely be buying our photos. And so what we have to do for football, generally they are required to stay in the stands. For baseball, they can't get out on the field where we can actually get on the field and get in the dugout. So what you've got to do is you've got to find something that you can do that they can't do.
Right.
So for soccer, generally that means shooting from the same side of the field as the players. Soccer, the referees and the field officials are very strict, and one side of the field is always reserved for players and coaches, and no one else can be over there. So you got to make nice with the field officials, let them know who you are, introduce yourself to them. If you see them every week, take them a couple of pictures every week of themselves doing stuff. Make nice with them so you can get up there closer. You can get those shots of the kids on the bench. You can get those reverse angles where you can see the crowd behind them. Different things that the mom and dad just can't get.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one of the things I had to do when I was shooting a team, and I was generally doing this a lot during a tournament, so there'd be a ton of them, and I would show up early in the morning and work till late in the afternoon. But I only could stay a half, if I could stay that long, half of the game. So the first and second quarter, or third and fourth quarter, with that team, then moved over to somebody else, and I had runners coming up to me taking my cards, so I didn't have to worry about the editing. That was really nice. But making sure I had coverage of all the kids was always a challenge. Is that something? How are you keeping track of? I got all the kids, or are you just doing the best you can do and moving on?
It depends on what we're doing. If it's something where we've got a smaller group, then definitely we just keep up with it in our heads. If we're doing something like for football, or we have a contract where we know at the end of the year they're going to be doing the booster club is going to be doing something for all the seniors. We'll spend one game where we're focusing strictly on the seniors. We want to make sure we get those senior pictures. When we're doing tournaments, generally we have it in the budget where we can have additional photographers, especially when we're covering multiple fields at once. So we do. We tell them shoot fast, shoot what you can. Try to make sure you're keeping up and getting at least a couple of shots of each player out there. So we just have to do what we can with it.
Yeah. Now, I'm going out of order in my questions here, so I'm probably messing up Tim.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, Tim, and even asking some that I don't have there. So thanks, Tim, for keeping up. So I'm going to do that again here, Tim. Do you have? And I think this is somewhere in the list, so you have to find it. But outside of which one makes you the most money, let's throw that out for this question. Which one is your favorite to shoot? Which sport?
My favorite sport to shoot, and unfortunately I don't get to shoot it as often as I would like. I love to shoot girls lacrosse.
Oh wow! I have never got to shoot lacrosse.
Angry girls with sticks.
Is it? Are you getting their facial expressions? Are you getting that?
Yeah, we try to do it. We do the best we can. With lacrosse, of course, they're wearing the little eye guard, and so you do what you can. But generally, we do. And I always say that I love shooting girl sports better than more than guy sports, especially when you get up in like the 15, 16-year-old level. And I'll use soccer as an example. When you get these high school soccer players, the guys get out there. I want to head the ball. I want to head the ball. I want to do a slide tackle. I want to do a jump kick. It's all about show and style. The girls get out, that's my ball. You can't have it. And they play a lot more brutal. Right. They really do. And so because of that, the pictures have a lot more, expression and emotion and grit to them.
Yeah, and I love that emotion in the sport and the players' face and their body expressions too. Okay, so girls lacrosse, and I've never got to shoot lacrosse. I would love to go shoot lacrosse. We have an active lacrosse team right here, boys and girls, that I'd love to go shoot. It's just as the hobbyist, I feel if my kids aren't there, it's a little creepy for me to be shooting. And one of the good things is that my kids have aged out of sports, and my younger son now, we were talking before in the pre-show, is on track, and they don't let the parents on the field. So in some ways, it's a relief to me. I don't go with my camera. I just go there, and I'm not going to get any good photos from the stands, and I just don't even bring it. I have my phone, and that's it. So, from that standpoint, the days of me shooting my kids' sports are over. So now, but I have friends who have kids that are younger who are getting into T-ball and that kind of stuff, and I can go shoot them individually. Hopefully one of them will do lacrosse. So there's a question out in chat. I think it's a question from Dennis Moon. Lava Springs Parks are trying to get... I think he's making a statement. Well, I'm not sure exactly what he's asking, but I'll ask the question that I have on the list somewhere else. So you have, in as team and individuals at least, you've contracted with the league, and you may have other deals with either coaches or other leagues and that kind of stuff. How do you were you new to it? Were you new to the league, or did somebody have the contract before you? And I guess before you answer that, this will be two questions. There is, if someone else had the contract, how do you go about winning the contract? If no one else had the contract, how do you convince the league to hire you and contract under you?
Great questions. Around here in this area, we have two very large big box companies, and I won't name their names. One of them is a national company that does schools and leagues and individuals and stuff like that, and the other is a private photo studio that started off under one guy. They actually did my senior photos 20 some odd years ago, and now they've sold and sold and sold, and by now they've just keep growing and growing and growing, basically just buying each other's client list. Well, they're horrible at it, and so they send out button pressers, and so the business really comes to us because people that have used these other companies, oh man, those pictures are horrible, and then they see something that we've done, we've got to get him to come do our pictures. Mm-hmm. So that's really one of the big pluses for us, is that the two biggest companies in here aren't very good at it.
Well, that's good too. So being better than any competition definitely helps, I'm sure.
But as far as actually getting out there to it, yeah, you do. You just have to go talk to them. For the schools, the boosters is where it's at. People think, well, I need to go talk to the school. I need to go talk to the coach. That's not who makes the decision. That's not who has the money. The booster club is who has the money and controls the money. And the players pay their dues to play, and that money goes into field maintenance and equipment and photos and all sorts of other goodies. And then the leagues themselves, as far as like the Parks and Rec leagues, that's when you actually go start talking to the directors of the league, talk to the coaches, make an intro there. A lot of what we've done have been, we've known the parent of a player who's gotten us an introduction to the coach, who gets us an introduction to the league director, and that's how we get into it.
And now you said the booster's the one with the money, but they're not actually paying you, right? I mean, you're getting paid by the parents, and then you may actually be giving some money to the booster, right?
It depends.
Or is the other way?
We actually have one of our biggest contractors through a local high school, and they pay us a significant amount to cover guaranteed coverage of their team day before the season starts. Every varsity game for this is for football, so it's every varsity game, and then 2 more games for each of the grades. Sixth grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, freshman, and JV, plus up to 2 playoff games, and so we guarantee coverage for that. Now, and they pay us for that. We provide the photos to them that they can utilize on their website. We also take care of all their media blast. As soon as we get home from the game, I'm blasting out photos to all the media, sending out do a quick little bit of copy that we write for it, and send out the scores and provide those photos to the media. So we're handling a lot of things behind the scenes so they don't have to, and they pay us for it.
Yeah, and probably that extra effort that you're doing there for them is what makes them want you. You're not just showing up taking photos. You're doing all this extra work for them, and that has value to those guys. Because if you didn't do it, it either wouldn't get done or somebody else would have to. And that is another thing that makes it why they want to have you as the photographer. So in your business, do you hire shooters, or do you have people on staff, or how do you handle help? Or are you a one-man show?
I could not do this by myself. There's no way. I got lucky on one thing. I married a graphic artist, so it's nice to have her. It's nice to have her on staff.
Yes.
Plus, she also handles all of the behind-the-scenes stuff as far as the paperwork, the bills, receipts. When we go out and we're doing a league photo day, she's working the table, and so we can handle a fairly good-sized league, just the 2 of us. But when we're doing like a league photo day, if we've got more than 200, 250 players, we definitely are going to bring a duplicate setup. So I'm going to have another photographer there where we're running 2 teams at the same time. I've got 2 ladies working the table, my wife and then someone else. And so they're working the table, taking the forms, making change, answering questions. And then, like the other events we do outside of sports, the same thing. We may have to run duplicate setups. Anything where we're doing, I've got a gymnastics meet coming up in a couple of weeks. I have 4 events simultaneously. And so they originally were going to have us come out there with 4 photographers, and they decided, well, we only want you to cover these 2 events. The other 2, they're not going to be really very photo worthy. So, which is great for me. It saves me some money not having to pay 4 photographers.
Right.
So, but yeah, we definitely hire out, and I've got a tight group of photographers that I work with on a regular basis. I know that I can just say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how I want it shot, and I don't have to babysit them.
I tell you, for me, it was for at least for a while. I did it for a couple of years, and as a second shooter, I had none of the headaches of the business. I got paid an hourly rate, and I got to show up and shoot. And of course, if I'm no good, she's not going to bring me back. So hopefully, I was good enough. I did it, for a while, and I just go and shoot, have fun with it, and then don't even have to worry about the editing. I'm just done. And that was as a second shooter. If you're somebody who's thinking about being a second shooter, it's an awesome thing to do. You do have to produce the quality. And I actually, because I was doing that and felt some commitment to it, I had a second body. So at the time, this was back in the day when 4 megapixels was a lot, I had 2 Nikon D2Hs. And my second one was in case the first one went down, while I was shooting for her, because I didn't want to let her down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do, we all know that photographer mentality that you start talking to somebody else, and once he finds out that you're a photographer too, he doesn't want to talk to you anymore. You're now his competition, and he just doesn't want to, and they don't want to share anything. I got very lucky. I got in with someone who was starting to get out of the sports photography business, so he taught me a lot about the business side of it, and kind of trained me about some on-field stuff. So I didn't have to make the same mistakes, that he had made early on. I got to learn from that. Well, I'm now doing the same thing. I've got other friends here that are wanting to do sports photography. They're good at it, and I teach them, here's the way I shoot it, and here's the way I run my business. And people say, well, you're teaching them to be your competition. To me, there's enough business to go around. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure that, number one, they're doing a great job for me. And then when they do finally decide to break out on their own, that they'll be ready to go. They don't make the same mistakes that we all made starting a business, and that I can still call on them and say, hey, I need you to come shoot for me.
Right. You're training. That's what one of the things she did was she saw me shoot. She had the league contract, and she saw me shooting. And of course, your first thought is, "Oh, hold on a second. I got the contract for this. Is this somebody moving into my territory?" And she came over to me in not an accusatory way, in a nice way. Came over and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" or something like. I can't remember exactly what she said. I didn't feel that she was accusing me, and I said, "Hey, I'm shooting my son's soccer." So right there, she knew that I'm shooting. I'm not a competitor to her, and except for I'm shooting my son, and he's probably not going to buy anything. So for that, I'm shooting his soccer, and she said, "Hey, how would you like to come shoot for me?" And we talked about it, and I said, as long as I make every one of their games, and I don't shoot their team for money. If you want to, I'm going to shoot every game of theirs. If you want to come and shoot their game also for money, then that's fine. But I'm not going to sell photos to the parents of my own team. And she said, that's awesome. We'll do that. So I shot the league and then shot weekends. And because of the way she approached me, the two of us got along and we're still friends today off of that.
Right. And most of our contracts, and anybody that does have a contract, they have an exclusivity clause in it. So we do the same thing, though. If I'm on a field somewhere and I see somebody with a big, $3,000 lens and a $2,000 body, I'm going to go introduce myself.
Yeah.
Because I just want to kind of get a feel for, hey, I'm not asking, hey, who are you? But I'm really asking, hey, who are you and what are you doing here?
Yeah. And you never know that it could be somebody who's moving in your territory that needs to be dealt with, or it could be a future person that helps you out. You never know from that. Now, imagine with some of the sports like football is one of them, and maybe if indoor basketball, lighting is except for maybe soccer, lighting is probably always a challenge for you. Football generally is at night. I'm looking at one of the photos. I think it's behind me of you there holding. What is that, like a 300 millimeter maybe, or I can't tell.
Yeah, that was actually the Sigma 120-300 f2.8.
Can you see the camera that's behind me?
I'll assume it's back there. Yep, there you go. Yeah, I see it.
That is a Sigma 120-300 f 2.8. Love that lens.
After getting that lens, I take back everything bad I ever said about Sigma.
Yeah.
That really put them back on the map in my book.
Canon and Nikon don't sell a 120-300 2.8.
They don't.
Yeah. If you want a 300 2.8, you buy a fixed lens.
I was about to throw down that chunk of change to get, I was about to throw down $6,000 to go buy the 300 millimeter 2.8. And then a friend of mine said, here, try this. And he gave me his 120-300 for the weekend. Try it and see what you think. And I came back and I said, I love this lens. This is a great lens. So I told my wife, hey, I found a lens I want to buy. It's half the price of the Canon. She said, oh, that's great. And then I found one at Lens Rentals that he was getting rid of it for, half of that again. So my wife was really thrilled. So wow. I got mine for $1,800.
That is an awesome deal. Yeah, for that lens, that is an awesome deal. For 120-300 2.8. Awesome deal. And when you're shooting some of the smaller kids' soccer or something like that, that 300 sometimes is way too long. You need something a little shorter.
Exactly. And then I love it for baseball because if I'm shooting from the outfield side of the dugout, right up there by first base, I can throw the teleconverter on it and I can pull off outfield shots.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I was asking about lighting. That's one of the things I think separates the pros like you from the average parent is they don't have the gear to deal with nighttime football, indoor basketball, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, lighting is definitely a challenge. Like I said, Friday night lights, everything's at night for football. High school gymnasiums generally don't have the best lighting. Mm-hmm. You look at it on ESPN and it's all, oh man, it looks great on there. And say, well, yeah, they're also shooting 1/30th of a second where I'm having to shoot 500.
Yeah.
So it is a challenge. And that's one of the places where we always say, well, having a better camera doesn't make a better picture. Well, sometimes it does.
Yeah.
And that's one of the instances. I shoot with a Canon 7D and a 5D Mark II.
Okay.
Those are my primary bodies, and then I have a 40D as a backup to all of that. And my pictures, when I got the 7D and the 5D, they look a lot better. And then, my friends that shoot with 1DS and 1DX, their stuff looks better than mine. So, the body does definitely help you with that color, but there is still a lot of time spent in Lightroom kind of dialing in batches.
Sure. The challenge there, of course, is the noise. And as cameras get better and better, the noise gets better and better. Because I know before my D700, which is what I have now, the D2X, anything above ISO 800 was just horrible. And
oh, yeah.
In today's standard, if anybody listening to me today who has a modern camera is saying 800, ISO 800, I shoot that in broad daylight almost. I mean, with that camera back then, it was impossible at over 800.
Yeah, the picture that you've got floating back through there of me on the football field, the reason I sent that to you is a friend of mine, there it is right there,
Yep.
A friend of mine sent it to me. That is straight out of his camera. It's a 7D Mark II, shot on the same lens that I'm using, but that's at 12.8 ISO.
Okay.
So I generally don't go over 6400. 12.8 to me is actually worthless. I cannot use the images, but he's actually getting halfway clean images just shooting that high ISO, and that's on like I said, a 7D Mark II.
Okay.
Yeah, new camera lenses, camera bodies is definitely getting better and better with the ISO.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep. All right, let me go back through my questions here. So you mentioned before about selling. You had a booth set up with your wife, sometimes another person helping her out. Do you sell on site ever? Do you have a printer there where you sell it on site or displaying the images on site?
We, on league photo days and events like that we do, we will have samples of everything on site. We wanted them to be able to look and touch and feel and see the quality, see what we're offering, especially the unique items that we offer, such as dye subs on metals, and any sort of cutouts where the photo is bonded on the Masonite and then laser cut out, things like that. We want them to be able to see them.
Okay.
And of course, for you and me, we say, hey, it includes a memory mate. First question we always get asked, hey, what's a memory mate?
I was about to ask you that too.
Here's one to see. Okay. So, yes, we do have a dye sub printer, but for sports, it's just not practical to have that to do on site. There's no way we can do it. Mm-hmm. But for other events that we do outside of sports, we do a lot, because doing sports, especially for the high schools, leads to other events at the high schools, especially dances. And so dances and events like that, yes, we do want to be able to do on-site printing. So we do use a dye sub, and we spit out 5x7s from the time we click. We say smile and click. 30 seconds later, my wife is handing them, a 5x7 in a bag, ready to go.
Yeah. So okay. Crap, I lost my train of thought there. The thing you're saying, the memory mats, that's what it was. Is what outside of the normal prints, 4x6, 5x7, 8x10s, whatever your prints you're selling, what other items are you selling that are big sellers that if a parent is just taking their photos, whatever they're taking with their own camera, they wouldn't be getting if it wasn't for that?
One of the biggest things we do is we print straight onto metal, and all the major labs, Miller's, H&H, Black River, they all offer these, where they're the metal prints, where it's actually dye sub onto aluminum. I actually have someone here local that handles that for me, so I don't have to have the downtime, so I can get those done local. Bag tags are a huge sales for us. The sports tickets, one of the reasons that I use H&H for all my sports business is because they offer something that none of the other labs have offered, and that is ESPN themed templates. Dads love getting something with ESPN's logo on it. Mm-hmm. And so by using H&H, I can give products that have ESPN logo. They're licensed, and I can do that without getting sued. So
that's important, yes, without getting sued.
I don't want ESPN coming after me for throwing my logo on stuff. And so, mom with a camera, she may, if she's good in Photoshop, she may slap an ESPN logo on something, take it over to Costco and have it printed. And ESPN's not going to come after her for that. Right. They're not even going to know she's doing it, but they can come after me.
Well, in your case, of course, you're selling it for money, where in her case, she's not. She may still be wrong, but they're going to definitely go after the person who's making money selling a product that has their logo on it.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's the main reason I go with the lab that I go with for my sports is because of that ESPN, and dads just love it. We do sports passes, we do the bag tags, we do the tickets.
Okay. What about composites where you're doing all the composite images? I don't know
Like
if
that one right there?
Yeah, that one with the cheerleaders?
Yes. We do those. The desk size print is a 5x15 and the wall size print is a 12x36.
Okay. And I think I got the wrong thing up for people to look at. So people are not seeing the cheerleader one now. They're seeing Roger now. So let me get the right one up there. But yeah, you've seen the cheerleader one roll through if you're watching this, and that's what. I'm sorry. What'd you say about that one?
When we did that, we shot that. We had each of the groups. It's 24 girls in that group. There's no way you're going to be able to put that into one picture and have any detail left.
Right.
So we did those photos in groups of 2 and 3. And then it was all cut out, and then I would just kind of composite it back on. I actually outsourced that. I wasn't going to sit there and take the time to go through and do all the knockouts for 24 girls times 2 different pictures, because there's one of them standing and one of them jumping.
Right.
So we actually outsourced that to another company to send us back the files already done.
Okay. Well, that's not who I wanted back there. Hold on one second as I continue to mess this
I don't know
up.
who that guy is.
And that's weird there too. That's the back of me. There we go. Now I got the right one. Oh boy. Okay. And if you have any questions, you're out in chat. You have any questions? I see some people that may not be logged in. If you have any questions, feed them out in chat, and we'll pass them on to Roger. All right. So for your business in this product, you talked about you send stuff to the media and all that kind of stuff. But how about social media? Does that play any role in your business?
Absolutely, it does. One of the things that I had to learn real quick in the business is there's no way, it is absolutely impossible to keep people from stealing your photos and putting them on Facebook. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
So one of the things that I've done is I've actually embraced that, and people thought I was crazy for doing this. But when I go do my pictures, you can go to the website and you can order your prints. You can order the high-res digital, which is a significant price investment if you want the high-res digital. But I will sell you the web resolution optimized for Facebook picture for $2.
Oh, there you go.
People say, you're just giving away. It's like, no, I'm not giving away. I'm making it easy for them to get a nice, clean picture without having to do a cut and paste or a screen grab off of their iPhone or anything else. I'm giving them a nice, clean picture and making $2 that I wasn't going to make.
And you hope that a few of those people at least tag, Roger Cotton Photography and hopefully drive a little bit more over there.
Exactly.
Well, and giving them a low res is definitely better than having them take a picture of it, which is going to be a bad picture, and then say, oh, I got this picture from Roger, and people are going to look at it and say, yeah, that's not that great. So, yeah, the low res, yeah, you're making a little bit of money, plus it's a good picture that people are showing that you took.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And the other thing that it does is, it's kind of a way of kind of guilting them into something. Say, well, I don't want to just go here and get the couple of low reses. I'm going to buy a couple of 5x7s too. We actually saw our print sales increase when we started offering the low res. And so what people do is they'll buy the 5x7, which is the smallest print size I offer. They'll buy the 5x7, and then they'll turn right around and buy the low res digital to go with it. Whereas before they were just doing screenshots off their phones and not buying anything.
Right. Yeah. You turned what was a no revenue into some revenue there.
Right.
Yep. Okay. So you mentioned social media is important. What about your own website, having your own website? If I've known the guy who actually took over after we left having a league contract, the guy who took over after us, and this was a number of years ago, so it's not the same as today. I don't want to be critical of him, but he did not have a website. So in this day and age, can you live solely on the Facebook with your business for something like what you're doing, or do you also need a website?
I think you can. I see plenty of photographers that are out there that do not have a website, and I know they're making money. So I think you can do it. Me personally, I like having a website because that means that I can do other things on my site that I can't do through Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So plus the way I've got my website set up is also where I do all my online sales. If you're offering online sales, it's going to be nearly impossible to do it through Facebook. You're going to want to have it set up where you can go to a website. I use Zenfolio for all of my web hosting. I'm sorry, not my web hosting, but my image hosting and order fulfillment. That all goes through Zenfolio. So when someone places an order, I don't have to deal with it. The order goes through the website. They take the money. They send it over to Miller's. Miller's turns around and prints it and drop ships it back to the customer, and Zenfolio gives me my cut of it. Whereas the old way, and if you're trying to do it off of Facebook, they place the order. I've got to go find the file. I've got to send it to the lab. I've got to get it back from the lab. I've got to pack it. I've got to ship it. I've got to pay for all that.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. You will lose money by just the amount of time it takes eating up fulfilling an order yourself.
All right. So first off, Tim, he answered like several questions there.
Yeah, really.
Further down below.
Don't worry, I've been paying attention. I've been trying to find his Zenfolio though. I'm like, I missed that one.
Zenfolio? I've heard of them. They're very popular.
I should have given you a link, and I'll be glad to send you a link because I can actually get a $10 referral if anybody signs up through my link for the account.
There you go.
Zenfolio.
Yep.
Yes.
Zenfolio. Now, okay, so that would answer a question about who you use for online fulfillment. But you said what you mentioned there. His parent goes there, they order their photos. It all goes through Zenfolio. They print it, they ship it, all that kind of stuff. Which must mean that you've already done whatever editing you want to the images already.
Yes, because one of the things that Zenfolio also does for me, that also serves as my off-site cloud backup. So they have the high-res mastered images of everything.
Okay.
So they have print-ready artwork for everything.
I've heard some photographers who debate with this. Do I put up photos and then, and I used to do this through Print Room back in the day. I don't even know if Print Room is still around, but I used to use Print Room, and I would put up the photos with a light edit. And then if people wanted the images, then I would get a thing from Print Room that says, hey, they want ... I would then go and pull up the raw, edit those photos, send them to Print Room, and they would fulfill it from there. What sounds like what you're doing is you're doing all the edits you want to do before you send it up to Zenfolio, so you don't even have to worry about that later.
Right. I used to do it the way that you're talking about doing. I used to do it that way.
Yeah.
And then, two things. Number one, I decided I don't ever want to show anybody something that's not my best work.
There you go.
The other thing is the general Joe Blow doesn't know how to crop a picture. So if I send up a picture that's not cropped, he's going to send it off to be printed. And I look at it and say, well, man, I would have cropped that differently. Plus, the other thing is with Lightroom, I can come back from a football game and I can cull through my entire image, set, do all my edits. 45 minutes, I'm done. I'm uploading.
Very good.
And I'm uploading ready to print images. Lightroom has really sped up my workflow.
Okay. Now, are you shooting RAW or are you shooting JPEG?
For sports, I shoot JPEG.
Okay.
I mean, my thought on this is I paid a lot of money for a camera that has just this kick butt processor in it. So if all I want to do is go shoot RAW, I may as well go buy a $300 consumer camera that can shoot RAW.
Yeah.
I'm paying money.
Our show is JPEG to RAW, but there is some debate there that some of the pros who know what they're doing. The thing that RAW does for you is it allows you to make mistakes and recover from some mistakes.
That would be me.
Yes.
Some mistakes and recover from. If you have blur because you didn't focus right, or you have blur because the shutter speed or the subject was moving, RAW's not going to do you any good there. But it does allow you a little bit more headroom to correct mistakes. Some of the best pros that I know have gone to JPEG because, especially if you're a volume shooter, going to JPEG because hey, I can get it right in camera. And I'm going to get it right in camera almost every time, and I don't need that. So it's if that's the case, then maybe you don't need it. RAW does give you the best quality image you could possibly get, but it comes at a cost.
Right, and the reason I don't shoot sports in RAW is simply because of like I said, I know the camera. It's a professional camera. It's designed to do this for me. So I let it do what it's going to do. Plus, it's just the speed and processing and the hard disk space of having all these raw images. I can come home and dump 8 gig of JPEGs a lot faster than I can dump the same number of photos in RAW. Plus the processing time in Lightroom. Plus having to export everything out. So it's just faster.
So because I'm not a professional, because I don't shoot near the volume as you most likely. I do still shoot RAW for sports, except for one sport. And that is when I went to shoot a friend's cheerleading competition.
Yes.
And that I always go early. So if you're if you're anybody, professional or parent just wanting to shoot, I always go early. Get there maybe, especially with cheerleading, and I got there maybe a half hour early. I'd never shot it before. And I sit down, and the first team comes up. They're on the court for 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. And they're flying all over the place.
Oh, they're all over the place, yes.
And I go, oh, my God. This is crazy. So I just watched the first one, and then the second one comes up. I get my camera, and I try and take pictures of them. And I am less than a minute into their event, maybe 30, 40 seconds, and my camera stopped shooting. I go, what is going on? And my buffer was completely full.
Exactly.
And It took the rest of their time on the court for my buffer to empty. So for me to start taking pictures again, because they're only literally there for 2 minutes.
Now, when you shot that, were you shooting one or two girls specifically, or were you trying to get the entire squad?
In this case, I was only going to be shooting one girl in the end, but
try getting the entire squad in 2 minutes.
Yes. So
good luck.
I thought about that too, because before she came out, I was trying to shoot several girls because I was going to delete all these anyway. I don't know who these people are, and I'm not there to shoot them. But that was part of my test. I wanted to shoot like that, and I realized there's no way I can shoot raw in this event. My camera won't work. So I went to JPEG for that. And, it's still, the action is crazy. And I was thinking what you just said. I thank God I'm only here for one girl.
Yeah. Oh, it can get crazy. We've done with that squad that you see floating around behind you there. We did they actually had 2 meets that were local within 30-minute drive for us, and so we covered both those meets for them. But yeah, it's just crazy because it's just so fast, and trying to get all the girls, and then make sure you get all the girls, not only just the flyers, but you got to get the base too. The girls that aren't flying in the air, the girls that are holding everybody else up. Mm-hmm. You've got to get all of them, and that was a big team, 24 girls on a team.
Wow.
So it's just, and they move. I mean, the ones that start on the front row and the left, by halfway through the routine, they're on the back row on the right.
Wow. So we've mentioned what's your favorite sport to shoot. What sport do you think of all the sports you shoot is the most challenging to shoot?
Probably gymnastics. Okay. Simply because it's indoors. If you're shooting the floor routine, you've got to shoot a high shutter speed. And they notoriously have horrible lighting. Mm-hmm. So you're shooting f2.8, ISO 6400, 500 shutter speed, and just praying you get something. I'm very against the whole spray and pray method of shooting, but on the tumbling pass of a floor exercise, that's all it is. It is a spray and pray and hope you get one good shot.
Now, if 500 of a shutter speed of 500 a second, are you stopping the action with 500, or do you have a little bit of motion in the arms and legs?
We still have some motion in the fingertips and the toes. You're still going to have motion there, and again, it's only on the floor routine. Yeah. Gymnastics, they generally run 4 events. They run floor, they run a beam routine, which you can shoot a lot slower. Bars, you can shoot a little bit slower, and then their vault, you can typically shoot slower, and you know exactly where they're going to be there. I mean, be in one spot when they vault. So the only challenge really is the floor exercise, and just trying to freeze that motion with no light. It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, and you mentioned something that makes me think of this is one of the keys to any of these sports, and it sounds like you've already got it, is knowing the sport and anticipating where the action is going to happen, and that's what separates you from the average mom and dad. They're not going to anticipate the way you will.
Oh, exactly. That's one of the things I've actually done a couple of courses, that kind of teach. Here's how you shoot sports. And rule number 1, know the game. Mm-hmm. You've got to know the game. Baseball is probably the easiest sport to learn on. Yep. Because the play is going to be one of 4 places.
I know he's going to stand here to begin. I know where he's going to run.
Yeah, and you can predict where the play is going to unfold. There's a runner here and a runner there. So if the ball goes in the infield, the play is here. If the ball goes in the outfield, the play is there.
Right.
So it's really easy to learn, and I always tell that's a great sport to learn from. Not only that, baseball, at least here locally for us, for our Redbirds, which is the St. Louis franchise for the minor league, you can bring whatever camera you want in. They don't care if you walk in with a 300-millimeter lens and you're sitting 30 feet behind first base, you can get awesome shots.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe soccer is for somebody wanting to get into it, younger kids soccer. High school soccer is on a field that's sometimes even bigger than a football field. So
Yeah, you got to
that's,
have a huge lens.
yeah, even that 300, 120 to 300 is not long enough for a lot of the field.
Now, when I shoot soccer, and I tell people basically pick a quarter of the field that you're going to shoot,
Mhm.
and know that you're not going to shoot anything else.
But now you go and shoot kids that are like 12 and under or 10 and under, and the field, you can shoot with a 70 to 200 there. The fields are
Yes.
small enough that you can do that. And the one thing there, unlike maybe the T-ball and the baseball, is you going to have decent field access. Where with T-ball and all, you may not be able to get on the field. You may not want to get on the field because as you're staring down your lens, that's an easy way to get hit with the ball or hit your
Yes.
camera with the ball.
Fortunately, I've only been hit with a baseball once, and unfortunately, it was my first weekend out with my new 120 300, and I took a foul ball on the side of the barrel.
Oh,
Dang. Any damage?
No, it left a little scuff, but the optics were still fine.
Good.
So
Scuff is
I
okay.
can already see that. I was already placing the phone call in my head to my insurance agent. Hey, Sean, I need to check.
First day out with the camera, a lens, I broke it. Yeah. So what do you see as your biggest obstacles to running a successful photography business?
The biggest obstacle to actually run a successful business and making money at it
Yes.
is getting in the door to be able to photograph it for money. A lot of places will let you come shoot, but if you can't sell it, there's no point in going. As far as from a business standpoint, it's great to go for practice, but to be able to sell, you've got to get a foot in the door. You've got to get the right person. You've got to be willing to give a commission back to them. That's the big thing. As long as they get a cut, they'll be happy to let you come take pictures.
Yeah. Dennis Moon out in chat asked, how do you get parent releases? And imagine if you have a contract with the league, the kids had to sign, or kids' parents had to sign a release as a condition to be in the league, right?
Exactly. It's a great question. It's one that I get asked quite a lot. Any of the leagues, when they sign in to sign with the league, they're already the league has a photo release for them. The schools are the same way. When they register for school, they are signing a photo release. So as long as we're not doing anything stupid with it, we're fine.
And that release gives you the ability to use those images to promote your business?
Yes. Now, I'm not positive. I wouldn't try it. I wouldn't try to sell the images. Just me personally, my own ethics, I wouldn't go try to sell the images somewhere without talking to and getting a written release specifically from the parent or the player.
Right.
But I don't think that release would allow us to do that. But it does allow us to use that for official school use or official league use, which falls under their contract.
Okay. And something like what you're talking about there is if you try to sell it to like an iStock or through a stock agency, where somebody's going to buy it from you, some unknown third party is going to buy it from you and use it for unknown reasons is what you're saying you wouldn't do. The release may not give you that right.
Yes, yeah. I wouldn't think that the release would give me that right. And even if it did, me personally, I wouldn't do it. I would want to have something in writing from that specific person.
Okay. And I can't believe we're this far into it, Tim. I didn't think I wrote that many questions, but I love this subject.
Yes, you did.
I'm going to have to skip down a little bit further. All right, you mentioned your gear, but I don't know if we got that. Can you mention what camera you use again?
All right, my primary cameras are a Canon 7D and a Canon 5D Mark II.
Okay.
For sports, I generally use a 7 just because it's faster. It shoots 7 frames per second versus 3 frames per second on the 5. The 5 shoots cleaner, but the 7 shoots faster. Plus, with the crop, it's a crop body, so it has a little bit more reach on the lens. And I also carry a 40D in my bag as a backup to all.
So a lot of us have moved over to full frame cameras. A lot of people have moved over to full frame, and when I went from the D2X to the D700, I moved to a full frame. One of the disadvantages of a full frame is sports, because now that 120 to 300 is a 120 to 300. And while there's always a debate, it doesn't really give you zoom. People say it doesn't really give you zoom, but it's cropping it, and it's in a way a zoom. It's effectively zooms in because of the crop, and all those pixels that you had are crammed into that crop area, and it's also in the sweetest spot of the lens.
Yes.
So there are instances where I do miss that crop sensor.
Right, and the 5D. I know you said you're a Nikon guy. The 5D is a full frame.
Okay.
So I do use both, but for sports, I generally I'm going to go to that 7 because of the crop and because of the speed.
Yeah. All right. So now I'm going to ask you questions about favorite lens for different sports. What's your favorite lens for soccer?
It depends on if I'm shooting kids soccer or if I'm shooting the full field.
Okay.
If it's anything on a half field or smaller, the 7200 f2.8 is my go-to lens.
Okay.
If I'm shooting high school soccer where they're playing on a full size field, then I'm definitely going to be bringing that the 12300 with a 1.4x teleconverter.
Okay. And I have that teleconverter too.
Yeah.
All right. Football.
123. It's going to be 12300 for everything.
No,
I can tell you that right now.
It's not. I have some that may not be. And I'll go through. I'll skip ahead.
Okay.
Just to not have the 12300 on every one of them. Basketball.
7200 f2.8.
Okay.
I use that for basketball. If I'm really feeling fruity, I might stick the 1755 on the other body and just sit underneath the goal with it.
All right, let me before I go to the next one, let me ask you about that, because every time I shoot basketball, I have a friend whose daughter is on the high school basketball team, and I've shot other basketball games too. Every time I go, I bring my 70-200 because I absolutely love that lens, and I always give up after the first quarter. And I don't know, I do it every time. I bring it, give up after the first quarter, and here's why: because basketball is so fast, and people are running in front of each other so much that I find that I'm fighting the zoom and the framing and focus and everything all the time. So I end up switching over to my 85 millimeter and just going that route. It does mean I don't have as much reach, and I got to only get stuff that's closer to the basket. But for me, at least, I can react faster and don't have to worry about the zoom. Do you find it have you done it so often it's not a problem, or do you find you fight the zoom too?
I really don't fight the zoom. The only time I would fight the zoom a little bit is if I'm, when they're right up underneath the basket, but then that's just an opportunity to shoot really tight.
Yeah.
And a lot of it just has to do with shooting styles. When I shoot basketball, I'm generally there to shoot one team. So there's two teams playing, but I'm generally only there for one of them. So I'll spend the first quarter on one side of the goal on their net, and then, on the baseline. Mm-hmm. And then the second period, I'm on the opposite side. So I can get the right-handers and the left-handers. And then generally the second half, I sit right up underneath the net, and I've got my safety shots during the first half. Now I'm there to get the fun shots under the net.
Okay.
How do you deal with the indoor lighting at basketball? Isn't JPEG really not good for that with those sodium lights for white balance issues?
Again, it just comes down to being able to go through it in Lightroom. Just be able to go through and dial in the color real quick in Lightroom to do it in JPEG. You lose the ability to dial in a specific white balance color temp, but being able to adjust the yellow and blue on the top and the purple and green on the bottom, and you can dial out that color shift pretty quickly.
Okay.
And Tim, I don't know if if this is what you were talking about, but when I shot the basketball game, and of course everyone I shot, those lights are pulsating, and you're getting different colors and different exposures. Even when you're shooting multiple frames a second.
Yeah, if you go through and shoot a 7-frame burst, you're gonna have 7 different color temps.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, and so the other reason I use an 85 is because I'm going to shoot an 85, and I'm shooting an 85-1.8. I'm going to shoot that at probably f2. And get me another stop of light or so.
Right.
With my 7200, I'm having to either go up in the ISO or down in the shutter speed. And I like to be with basketball. I like to be around 1/800th of a second. Are you going down as far as 1/500th of a second?
Right. For basketball, I'm shooting 1/500th of a second at f2.8 on that lens.
Okay. Yeah. I don't even know if last time I tried 500. I need to go back and try that again. That does give you, if you can go down to 500. What is it? Is that you go 800, 640, 500? Is that going to be 2/3 of a stop?
Right. Yeah, you got 2/3 of a stop that you're gaining back on that.
Okay. Yeah, I need to go back and try that, because I bring that 7200 every time because one, I love the reach I can get. I love the images from a 7200, although I love the images from 85 too. I just keep giving up every time. All right, football. I think you already answered. 120-300 with a 1.4 teleconverter. Do you shoot any swimming?
I have shot swimming, and when I shot swimming, I used the 7200.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so that was my questions with the lenses. We won't go over every possible sport. We got it. We got an idea there. Any sport that I didn't mention that you would like me to mention?
No, because we do shoot a variety of them. We actually, believe it or not, we do actually have youth hockey here in Memphis. But and for that, again, it's a 7200. Generally, any sport I'm going to shoot is either going to be the 7200 or the 12300.
Yeah, I imagine lacrosse is also going to be like a 120 to 300. Anything with a big field is going to be the 120 to 300.
Right.
Yeah. So what does Roger like to do when he's not doing photos, not working the business?
Unfortunately, Roger has a full-time job outside of this.
Oh, wow. I guess I should have asked that in a friend. I didn't realize you also did a full-time job.
Yeah, so I'm lucky in the fact that my full-time job is a Monday through Friday, 7 to 3:30. So I'm home at 4 o'clock every afternoon. So I've got plenty of time, especially after the time changes, we get daylight again, and I'm off every weekend. So it works out really well for us for our business. But there are weeks when we are just slammed. We're doing something every night, and then there's other weeks where we don't have anything to do. We're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
As far as what I like to do besides this, definitely anything I can do with my son and my family, we definitely want to do it. Travel around, day trips. My wife and clearly we're all car nuts, so big fast cars. So.
All right, yeah. And I guess with a full-time job, you need a little bit of downtime, some relaxing time. With
yes,
that.
exactly.
And okay, so from a photographer standpoint, what has been your proudest or favorite moment in photography?
Actually, it has absolutely nothing to do with sports.
Okay.
And that's actually just happened just last year. I had a chance to do what I call a boudoir session. So it's kind of like it's a sexy dude picture.
I know what it is.
Yeah. So I had this picture in mind, and if you actually go to my Facebook page, my business Facebook page, you'll see it. So it's a really muscular guy, and he really wasn't really too keen on the whole cowboy hat. But I said, trust me, wear the cowboy hat. And we were doing the whole thing in black and white. And I said, I want to do this one photo, and I saw it in my mind how I wanted it to look. And I think it's the first time ever that I've seen the picture in my mind. And when I looked at it on the computer, it's like, holy crap, that's exactly what I saw. That's exactly what I wanted.
All right, I'm going to see a bunch of roller derby pictures here, so let me go through those.
Well, actually, if you look up in my banner up at the top, where the little Polaroid type stuff is, in my masthead up there on the Facebook.
Yeah, but I'm going to need to get it bigger than that. Do you have it here that it's bigger than that?
I do not.
Okay.
That's the only place I have it. I mean, I've got it.
Yeah. And I will let me get that up so people can see that. Here we go. There's Roger's page. And you're not seeing it back behind me yet, but Roger, I have it pulled up. So what you're talking about is in your banner image, if people are looking at it, in the banner image in the lower right-hand corner is the boudoir photo. Now, is this a dude you already knew, or you just went up to a random dude and said, I'd like to take some boudoir photos of you?
Yeah. Hey, dude, I want to pose you in your underwear, and we're going to go to this place downtown. I'm going to put you upstairs. No. It's actually someone that I know. Yes. Okay. He wanted to do some pictures for his wife.
Okay. Very good. So you thinking of branching out into some other topics then?
As far as the types of photos?
Yeah. Some boudoir photos?
It would be fun. Generally, the way I describe my business is that we are a action sports and live event photography with boutique photos. So that's going to be your senior pictures, your boudoir sessions, any sort of like portfolio type stuff. Somebody wants some portrait stuff done. If you're wanting to shoot and burn, we're not it. If you're wanting just to shoot and get a couple of prints, we're not it. But if you want to let me strip you down to like that, put you in a cowboy hat and jeans, take your shirt off, and go into this really rundown looking area that we can get into and do some artsy photos, make a book, make some metal prints, make some wall art. We love to do that.
Awesome. JPEG Raw has a Facebook group, JPEG Raw Boudoir, but it could be also Doudoir.
Doudoir.
If you want to come in there and join that. And you talked about senior photos. That's a natural transition, I think, for somebody who's doing action photos of all these kids. Whenever you become a senior, don't remember me, and I will come and do your senior photos.
It is.
Yeah, we hired Scott Green, who's been a guest on the show a couple of times, and
I love Scott's work.
And has been in our Facebook group. He took the photos of my senior, and we did the normal photos of him in his Letterman jacket and him in different clothes changes, but Scott also did some in the pool with him because he was a swimmer, and those photos just came out fantastic. I could not believe Scott got into pool with all that gear. I mean, he's getting in there with a D4 and a 70-200. I mean, that had to be like $8,000 worth of camera gear. Braver than me. Okay,
that's
so
why it's insured.
What's that?
So that's why it's all insured.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so that's your proudest or favorite moment. Anything that's like a worst moment, and you look back and go, "Oh man, I can't believe that happened."
Oh, I don't know. Anything from last year. I mean, we always think that, man, this year my stuff looks so much better than what it did last year. And every year I think that my stuff looks better this year than it's ever looked. Mm-hmm. So I joke that, whatever I did last year was horrible. But some of my stuff that I shot really early on, I know that was rough. And I was like, I can't believe people actually paid money for that.
Parents, though, if they see their kid in there, that's a great photo. It's a photo they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
But I think that strive to always be better is what makes you a better photographer.
Yeah, I definitely I never want to stop learning. And that's one of the reasons people say, well, how come you going and doing, I'll go do a gig for free sometimes if it's a slow gig, especially the roller derby stuff. You've seen one of the roller derby pictures come through here. We have a roller derby league. They don't pay me to shoot. They encourage us, the photographers, local photographers, they encourage us, hey, will you come shoot pictures and just slap it on Facebook and tag us? That way you can kind of help promote the league. It's a challenge to shoot because the lighting in there is terrible.
Yeah.
This lighting in this venue is worse than any high school you've ever been in.
In the roller derby?
For the roller derby.
Yeah, I could see that being bad, yeah.
It's a challenge to shoot, but it's also very fun to go shoot. And so I enjoy doing it. I don't get paid for it, but I do it because I learn from it.
No, the images I saw of your roller derby stuff, that looked just absolutely a blast to shoot.
It is a blast. You should come. We got a doubleheader this weekend. How fast can you get here?
It's a little far away. But it looks like it'd be challenging for the light and the amount of motion you got going on, but it looks like it'd be a blast to shoot.
It is. It really is.
All right, Roger. So as we wrap this up, what advice would you give someone who's thinking of getting into sports photography, a business of sports photography?
The absolute best advice I can give you is find a mentor. Find someone else that's already doing it. That's not your typical arrogant, I'm a photographer, you're a photographer, you're my competition. Find someone who can teach you. Find someone that can teach you not only, the ins and outs of the best way maybe to shoot something or this is what works for me, but find someone that can teach you the business side of it. Because if you've never done it for profit, you're going to go in and you're going to make huge mistakes. I mean, the first year we started doing stuff for profit. It's like, we left so much money on the table just in time. Mm-hmm. How much time it took us to do stuff until we learned a better system for doing it.
Absolutely.
So definitely find someone to teach you.
You got to have a system or you'll burn yourself out. All right. If you could do things over again, if you were with the knowledge you have now, if you start over again, is there anything you'd do different?
I would never buy a camera.
What?
No, I would just never buy a camera. Yeah, because that's what starts this whole mess. You buy a camera and suddenly it's no longer fun.
Anything else?
No, if I could go back and do this over again, anything I would do differently? Not really. I think we've really, we started this really hot and heavy in 2009, and here it is 2015. So in 6 years, we've grown from walking the soccer fields to actually having to turn down business, on occasion, just for the fact that, like I said, because I have the other job that sometimes I can't go do something.
Okay. So now you get a chance. Any comments for parents like me who's got good gear and coming to shoot their kids' stuff? What would you like to tell parents like me? I'm one of these unique photographers. I don't have a problem with the parents being on the field. Okay. As much, necessarily on the field, but in the stands taking their own pictures. I've got enough faith in my work that's going to stand out against, just someone shooting in the stands with a kit lens or an iPhone. I've got enough faith in my work that's going to stand out.
The only thing I can say is if it's a venue where you're not supposed to be on the field, don't get on the field. It's not so much for me as a photographer thinking that you're taking money out of my pocket, but there's a liability issue. If you've got field access, if they let you on the field, then basically that venue is assuming liability for you being there.
Right.
So if you take a baseball to the face, if you have a football player run out of bounds and tackle you, suddenly that venue is somewhat liable because they let you on the field.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Me as a photographer in my business, I carry my own liability insurance through my insurance company. All my gear is insured. I'm insured, and so it's a risk. It's a risk that I'm going in there knowing I'm taking that risk. That I know there's a chance I might take a baseball to the face. I'm assuming that risk.
Mm-hmm. Do you have to sign anything? Is that part of your contract with the league?
That's part of the contract with the league. Yes.
Okay. All right. What's next for Roger? What are you? Any plan to do anything different in the future, photography wise, that you could share with us?
Really, what we're planning on doing is this is our breakout year for us for our senior pictures. We've been doing them, but we're really to the point that this year is going to be our breakout year where we're really going to transition from doing sports and live events to doing sports, live events, and seniors. We really want to break into that market. We think we're ready for it. We've been doing some pictures, and we want ours to stand out.
Okay.
So that's our big thing.
Okay. And Dennis has a question out there. Dennis, if you can rephrase the question, I'm not sure what you're asking. How to what? So as we wait for Dennis there, and we may have to have that in the post show here. But where's my last question? Okay. Last question, unless we get Dennis's question here. Where can people find Roger? Where's the best, if they want to get in touch with Roger, what's the best place to get in touch with you?
If you put my name into Google, I will be the very first hit because my photography and my website is rogercotton.com.
Okay.
So
yep, I added that as well as your Facebook, your Twitter, and your blog links.
And the blog and the Facebook and the Twitter is all tied together. Anything that hits the blog hits Facebook and hits Twitter. If it goes on Facebook, it hits Twitter. So I don't want to have to keep up with all 3 different things. Mm-hmm. So it all ties together.
Okay. And we'll have all those links in the show notes too. Tim's got them here in these notes. We'll have those in the show notes. So if you want to get a hold of Roger, if you want to ask him any questions, if you're in that Memphis area and want to work for Roger or just chat with him, we'll have all those links there for you to get to. Roger, thank you for coming out. We were pretty much on time, went a little bit over, but this is a subject I can continue to talk about for a while. You shared a lot of details with us. Thank you very much for coming on tonight. And
I'm so glad y'all let me come on. It's sports photography. I'm passionate about it, and I could sit here and talk all night about it. So
yeah, me too. I could talk about sports photography for a long time, and you saw I got bounced all around my show notes to mess Tim up, but Tim did a pretty good job of keeping up there. Thanks, Tim. So the question from Dennis, back to how to I'm not sure. Do you know what he's saying there, Tim?
No. How to protect, get on the field.
Okay.
Back to how to get on the field, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so I think maybe he's asking how do you get that contract? How do you get those contacts to get on the field and have access? So you mentioned before, a parent like me, if I go on the field and I get hit by a football player, yeah, they may not want to let me on the field because if they do that, then they're liable for my injuries or potentially. How do you get like you have where you've got access and you've signed a contract or signed a waiver to get on the field?
It really is just a matter of just getting introductions to the right people. For us, our biggest contract was actually through with my mentor, a sports photographer that was starting to get out of the business, is the one that introduced me to the right people. And every contract that we've gotten, everything we do has always been through just word of mouth referral. Somebody has a kid on a team that they're coaching, and they ask us to come do it, and it spreads out to the whole league.
Yeah, that's what I'd say is find out who's running the who's running the league, who's in charge, maybe you can start with a coach or something like that, find out who the contact is that you can get in touch with, especially if you're shooting, younger kids. You don't want to be on the field and somebody come up and say, "Who are you?" and you're just a dude there taking pictures of these little kids, that they might run you off. So you want to have some kind of contact there and reach out to somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely want to get a contact, especially, me, I'm 42 years old. I'll be 43 this summer. And I'm at that point now where you can look at me as who's the pervy guy with the long camera taking pictures of little girls.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that fine line. You've got them. I always I have my press pass that I wear. I also have a Roger Cotton photography media access pass that I wear with it. Even if I'm shooting little kids soccer, I'm wearing that pass.
And I don't know about you, but I had a personal rule that said I will not have any image on my camera that I wouldn't be embarrassed to show the dad or the mom of that
Absolutely.
child. So if I'm shooting, I know that sometimes I'd be shooting those cheerleaders, and there's times when their skirts are flying up and you're getting underwear. I'm deleting those images. I'm not going to have them on the camera, because if a dad walked over and he looks at my 7-frame shot, I got it incidentally, but still I'm going to delete that out because I don't want that. Or if a kid's hurt, I stop taking photos. Not going to take the hurt kid photos, which happens a lot in soccer.
Yes, it does. Yeah, and I am exactly the same way. I don't want anything on my camera that could even be questioned. And when both teams are taking a knee because a player is injured, my camera's down. I am not taking pictures.
Yep. And I'll mention one thing as we head out here. If you're a kid of a parent of a young kid, one of the things I see parents do, and I've even seen some of the pros do this, that I think if you do it differently can change your images quite a bit and make a much better image, and that is get down to the level of the kid.
Yes.
I may look like I'm lazy. I'm a little overweight. You may think, look at that guy, he's overweight, he's lazy. But I bought a little hunting chair from a Bass Pro Shop.
I got the same
that was
one.
a swivel thing, and I would go my kids were really young. I would go to the soccer field, set that thing down, and then I would sit there with that 120 to 300 on a or the 70 to 200 on a monopod, and just sit there and swivel with it. And it wasn't because I was lazy. That's a separate discussion. But it's because I was getting down to their level, and that made such a big difference.
It does. It is a huge difference if you can get down to the level of the players. That's a huge difference. Yeah. One thing I want to add, it's kind of in my little notes here of things, and I'm just going to throw this out here. Yeah. If you are doing this for a business and you are not taking credit cards, you are losing money.
Good comment. Yeah. So who do you use, like Square or something like that?
Exactly. We use Square because we can not only can we do our credit card processing in the field with that, we can also do online invoicing, because we'll have sometimes parents, I totally forgot my checkbook. I didn't bring cash, but I really want to get my son's pictures. Not a problem. What do you want? Let me get your email address. I'll email you an invoice, and I do all that through Square.
Very good. Yep. So, Dennis, you have grandkids. If you go out there, shoot their thing, get down to their level. Especially, I don't know if you're a tall person, even more important to get down lower. Bigger kids on a bigger field, not quite as important, and maybe not needed at all. But the little kids, get down to their level. It'll make a big difference in your images.
Yep, always be at eye level.
Yep. All right, Roger, thank you for coming out. We'll go ahead and end the live show. If you want to hang out for just a few minutes in the post show here, we'll talk a little bit more. But Roger, thank you for coming and sharing all your knowledge with us, or a portion of your knowledge on a favorite topic of mine. I think Tim's a big lover of this topic too. Tim, you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yep, there you go.
You froze for a second. I didn't know if we had something going on. But and everybody out there, I need to do my normal closing stuff here. So if you're not a member of our Facebook group already, go out there and join our Facebook group. That's where Roger and I met, through the Facebook group. It is facebook.com/groups/JPEG to Raw. We do have the JPEG to Raw one, which is our main group. I mentioned the boudoir one. We have boudoir. And now we have sports. Not a lot going on there. We got Roger and a couple other people. But, if you want to join that sports group and help us get it kicked off, come out there and join that group. If you're not into Facebook, you're not wanting to do that, come out and join our forums where I do post some stuff out there. I have a lot going on. We do some stuff with our photo challenge and our editing challenge and that kind of stuff. But come out and join the forums, jpegtheraw.com/forums. And speaking of the editing challenge, we just started one this Saturday. It ends this, well, actually we started Sunday. It ends this Saturday. We do one every 2 weeks. You can come in the Facebook group. That's the best way to find it. Every 2 weeks, we have an image that somebody has put up and donated for us to do a editing challenge on that. And then every month we have a photo challenge. This month is the topic is eyes. So come out to our Facebook group or go through our webpage to enter that contest. If you win, you don't get a cash prize, but you do get your image as the cover photo on our Facebook group, and we'll show it here in the show too. And don't forget, one of the things we do every year in the December is give away cash prizes and that kind of stuff. And the way we're able to do it is through our affiliate links. We have two main ones, and that is our Amazon affiliate, which is jpegtheraw.com/Amazon. You use that link before you go to Amazon. We'll get a small credit, and it helps the show out. And then also Topaz Labs. If you are going to buy something from Topaz Labs, jpegtheraw.com/Topaz Labs. And we'll get a small credit from that too. And it helps us fund things like giveaways that, guess what? We still have this to give away. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do it. But the winner of the photo contest in December chose the $100 Amazon gift card rather than this. So we still have this to give away. Not quite sure. If you got ideas on how I should give it away, other than just give it to you, let me know. And because I'm open to ideas on how to go through that process. So, but think about using one of those links. It helps us do things like that. And then the best way to get the show every week, the best way to see Roger as soon as it is released, is to subscribe to the show through iTunes, Stitcher's audio, so you won't see him, you'll hear him, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, TiVo, or YouTube. One of those ways is the way to get the show. So until next week, keep it raw, everybody. Good night.
Night, everybody.